Hello and welcome to this Fibro section, bling bling, and today it is about pacing. So I thought I'd made a video about pacing, but obviously not. So something that's very important is pacing. So we have the trusted notepad, and I have done a bit of research into pacing, and I hope that this information will help you because pacing is so important for any of us. So this week I wanted to go into detail and find out about pacing, what I've just said. Pacing is so important to sufferers of chronic pain and fatigue. We all know the story. You might be having a good pain day and fatigue day, so let's go mad and get as much done as we can. Then later that day or evening, you get the massive payback with a massive flare up which can last either days, weeks or months. Is it worth it? So my job today is to let you know as much about pacing as possible, and to be that little niggle in your mind each day to stop you from overdoing it and causing more flare-ups. So pacing means breaking up an activity so that the day is divided into periods of relative rest and activity. It will help you manage the day better by keeping to your planned target. Pacing is harder than it looks because we don't tend to spread our activities and rest out evenly in this way. That's just not how we're meant to usually do it, is it? Like before we got ill, we probably would have just like smashed out the whole housework in one day and not even thought about it. But now we can't do that. We will naturally do more when we have the energy and less when we're tired. Pacing also means doing the activity whether feeling good or bad, not doing too much and not doing too little. The aim is to keep an even level of activity over the day and week. On a good day, you should not wait for pain to tell you when to stop. That's not ideal. You should still stick carefully to your plan and avoiding doing too much. Easier said than done. We've all done it. I do it. Still do it. Even though I know everything about pacing, I still do it. But I am much better at it. On a bad day, try to keep going as planned. But you could try to break up activities even more, allowing more rest time in between. So even if you're having a bad day and you'd like planned to maybe, I don't know, wipe over your kitchen, you can still do that. But if your kitchen's that big that it's going to take you a while to wipe it over, then split it up. I mean, if I'm having like a really bad flare, I don't think I could probably do that. I think if I'm on a really bad flare day, I tend to rest on the sofa and then I will get up and do something, because I find the longer I sit, the more it hurts as well. So I do tend to do things, but not like a massive cleaning job or anything like that. It's just using your common sense, really. There are always times when you may wish to knowingly overdo it, for example, to attend a special event. This is okay. Overdoing it is unlikely to be harmful long term, even if you have to cope with the increased pain and flare afterwards. When I attend a special event, like a wedding or a party, I try to pace myself even then. So if I find that the noise is too much, and like the music and the lights and everything, I will go outside for a break. I will try and take myself to a comfortable chair, because you know, sitting on uncomfortable chairs for a long time is not good either. But the one with the lights and the sound, that's all to do with sensory processing as well. and sensory overload, and I have made a Fibro section on sensory overload, so I'll include that in the description for you, so definitely go and check that one out. If you are going to an event that you could stay away for, maybe you could stay over in a hotel or something, and then you could nip back to have a rest, or if say the wedding or the party is in that hotel, you could just go up to your room and have that rest, and then once you've had that rest you can rejoin later. So we need some ideas on how to pace. Let's look into housework as an option, because I know that's something that we all struggle with. Prioritise what are the most important things that need to be done. What has to be done straight away and what can wait until another time. For example, if you're having a visitor, just make sure the lounge and the bathroom are clean, as that's where they will see. You don't have to do the entire house, because unless you're intending on showing them round, that's not necessary. Try to plan the activities so the difficult ones are spread out and not done all in one go. What order is best? Do you need help, and can you delegate some of the jobs to other family members? So, for example, every day I write myself a list, every day. And on this list I just write down the important things that I want to get done that day. So maybe it'll be putting a load of washing on, maybe it will be dusting a room or cleaning a bathroom. I just list down the things that I want to get done for that day. Sometimes, like today, there's 2 things that I've taken off my list straight away, because I know I'm not going to have time to do them, because the other things took too much time and I want to have a rest. So old me would have been like, yeah, I will get them all done, they're on my list, I'm going to get them all done and not worry about the consequences. But me now thinks, no, I need to be sensible, I need to have a rest after I've done something. So that's what I've done today. I've taken 2 things off of my list and just concentrated on the important things. And then some days, like especially with the hoovering, or vacuuming I should say, that I find difficult with, I can ask Mark to do it. But if you haven't got that person to ask, then you will have to break it up. Can you do the jobs in a different way? Like, instead of using a duster and polish, use a feather duster to just skim away the dust, rather than polishing with your hand, which takes more effort and might make your hand painful. Can you chunk activities into those done in different positions? Try spreading the vacuum cleaning out, which is what I've just been talking about, over several days. So vacuum 1 room a day or 1 level a day. So where I used to live was a house, and I would do 1 level, that was 2 level house. I'd do 1 level one day and another level another day, because I couldn't do both in one go, it was too much. And then you could break that down even more. If you find hoovering, or it should be vacuuming, I'll get pulled up if I say Hoover is the brand of a vacuum. But everyone says hoovering, don't they? If you vacuum, say 1 room a day, and that's still too much, then you might have to break it down even more. It just depends on what you can handle. Could you sweep the kitchen floor with a long-handled brush and pan instead of using a vacuum? Would that be quicker and easier, you know, to do? Think about your baseline level for each activity. So your baseline is the amount of time you can cope with doing something without causing extra pain and fatigue. So, for example, say I was going to clean out my wardrobe, you know, how long could I do that before it would cause me extra pain and fatigue? Probably, what, about 5 minutes, do you think? 5 or 10 minutes? And then you have to work on that baseline, and don't go above that baseline until you know that you can handle it. So that's what the baseline is. Try and find a middle ground of what you can do on a good and a bad day, and try to stick to your plan. After several days or weeks of sticking to your plan of pacing, evaluate it and see if it is working or if you need to make adjustments on it, because that's fine. We all change, we all differ. For example, if vacuuming one room was fine and you found it absolutely fine, then the next time try and vacuum 2 rooms and see how that goes. And if that then is too much, you go back to 1. So you can gradually increase it and see the change. Pacing is going to be different for each individual and each case. Therefore, you need to make your own plan of what you can manage. Think about unhelpful thoughts too. So instead of thinking, I'm useless, I should be able to clean my whole home at once, instead try thinking, I am working with my body to do the best that I can. Okay, so you're switching that mindset up. I'm guilty of these thoughts. Everyone's guilty of these thoughts, especially with chronic illness. We always feel that guilt, and I'm sure I've made a Fibro section on guilt. At some point I'll have a look. If I have, I'll attach it for you. I can't remember, I've made so many now. You could make a plan for these unhelpful thoughts as well. So maybe make a list of all the unhelpful thoughts that you keep getting in your head and come up next to it with a more positive thought to have instead. So each time you're thinking about that unhelpful thought, you can switch it to the more positive one, and that will help. It's giving yourself a more positive mindset and giving you more control over how you cope with things. Okay, so it's quite a short pacing section, because pacing, I think we all need to do, like I say, and we all need to take time to think, right, what can I do? For example, for me today in the garden, I was like, I want to do some gardening today. My clematis needs tying up. I need to deadhead some of the flowers, but I gave myself a time limit and a limit to how much I was going to do, because I could have done so much more. I could have, you know, the grass needs cutting, for example. There's hedges that need trimming. If I'd have done all that, I'd have set myself into a flare. So I limited how much I could and what I knew I could cope with and do. So it's all about knowing yourself and knowing how much you can cope with. But I hope this has been helpful. If you've got any tips on pacing, then please feel free to add them into the comments and let me know if you struggle with it too, because I think we all do to an extent, but I used to really be bad at this. But like I say, now I've got much better at listening to myself and knowing how much I can do. It is frustrating, I do understand that, but you just have to go with it. You have to work with it. So anyway, give this video a thumbs up, leave me a nice comment, subscribe for future videos, and I will see you all on Saturday for the weekly. Take care. Bye.